pleasure for me to be here, and I want to thank the organizers for the excellent work they have done to carry out this event, especially Christian Hofer and Inja Stanovic. My presentation deals with the recordings of Enrique Granados' Danza Española número 7 Valenciana, made by the composer and his pupils, teachers, and pianists Frank Marshall and Alicia de Larrocha. This study attempts to find out if there are particular aspects related to the so-called Catalan piano school, which is based on sonority, voicing, and detailed use of the pedals. Also, different recording technologies are used: acoustic, piano roll, and analog. There are some common stylistics and interpretative tendencies among these pianists that may be transmitted orally by the composer to his pupils in direct line. The content of this presentation will be as follows: Enrique Granados as teacher, Academia Granados, Academia Marshall, teachers and pianists following Granados' teaching principles, Frank Marshall and Alicia de Larrocha, pedagogy methods of Granados and Marshall, and the recordings of this piece. Also, Granados' interpretation of the piece transmitted by oral tradition, and some conclusions, rather reflections. Enrique Granados was not only a great composer and pianist, but also a great teacher. In the first decade of the 20th century, Barcelona was the center of Catalan modernism in a context of an increasing urban and industrial development. Barcelona became an important city of social and cultural activities in which new Catalan bourgeoisie began to demand all types of spectacles: theater, operas, concerts, chamber music, that led to the creation of musical associations and concert societies. On the other hand, the popularity of the piano for making music at home, same that other countries at the time, propelled the proliferation of pianos, player pianos, reproducing pianos, as well as private lessons or academias for learning to play the piano. In this context, Enrique Granados found his academy in Barcelona in 1901. And you can see this photo is from the Academia Granados around 1910, and this photo belongs to the Museo of Barcelona, Music Museum of Barcelona. And you can see here Granados playing the piano. This Academia, as we can see in the press of at that time, the study program was designed in 6 courses aimed at the final examination before a jury of invited international pianists such as Riesler, Cortot, and others, who at the same time had concerts promoted by Granados himself. On the left, you can see this advertisement of 1903. It's about the course of that year was announced, which offer piano classes at elementary, intermediate, higher, and advanced levels. And in addition, harmony, composition, counterpoint, fugue, and instrumentation, as well as music theory. Dates of exams, prize competitions, and honorary prize that was award of a piano, a grand piano. In the other advertisement, we can see this is from 1906. You can see the organization of this school, this academia, was Granados himself as a director, deputy director Domingo Mas y Serracat was an organist and composer, and the teachers of the different subjects. It is worth noting that the piano class was taught by both Enrique Granados and Frank Marshall. There were also lectures for Felipe Pedrell, who was a teacher of Granados in composition. Granados studied with Joan Bautista Pujol in Barcelona, and as well as Isaac Albeniz and Ricardo Viñez, and others studied with Pujol. In 1897, he went to Paris and studied with Charles de Viriot for 2 years. Both Pujol and Berriot wrote pedagogical methods. Pujol knew mechanism of the piano with two appendices, one of fingering and another of the pedals. For his part, Berriot wrote Mechanism and Style, a guide for pianists. And then Academia Marshall, after the death of Granados in 1916, Marshall assumed the direction of the Academy, and in 1922 changed its name to Marshall Academy. As seen in this advertisement released from 1929. In addition to piano courses, the Academy also gave courses violin and cello classes. Frank Marshall was a Catalan pianist and pedagogue, son of an English family that moved to Catalonia to work in the construction of a textile factory. Between 1926 and 27, Marshall took part in the Falla festivals, which were held in Barcelona, interpreting the soloist part of the work Noches en los Jardines de España, which he also played in Seville and Cádiz, conducted by Manuel de Falla himself. In 1932, he was invited to be part of the jury of the International Piano Competition of Vienna, and in 1937, of the Frédéric Chopin International Competition, alongside Wieniawski, Krauss, Kempf, and Alfred Cortot. As well as carrying out his pedagogical work, he was also appointed president in Barcelona of the Musical Cultural Association, an institution that was promoted by the Concertos Daniel agency, which brought one of the most brilliant seasons of concerts to the Palau de la Música Catalana, with performances by Claudia Rau, Artur Rubinstein, Wanda Landowska, Sergei Rachmaninoff, etc. Alicia de Larrocha entered the academy at the age of 4 and began her musical education and piano studies with Frank Marshall. By then, Marshall was already a renowned teacher. The image on the right shows the review of the concert that Alicia de Larrocha gave at the Palacio Montesino as part of the activities and concerts on the occasion of the 1929 International Exhibition in Barcelona. At the bottom we can read, it says, the great artist caressed by her illustrious teacher. In an interview with Alicia de Larrocha in the year 1967, she said that her first contact with Granados music was at the age of 4. My teacher, Frank Marshall, after a lesson that seemed to satisfy him, told me, "Now I want you to study a work by my teacher, which I am sure you will enjoy. Listen to it." He played the La Campanella, the afternoon bell, from the collection of bocetos. I shall always remember that moment, my happiness upon arriving home with a little work by Granados, and I said to my family, I was going to play a work by Granados, the greater composer who had been my mother's teacher and my aunt's. And this work had been given me by my teacher, Frank Marshall, he who had been the faithful friend, principal collaborator, and favorite disciple of Enrique Granados. So this is the line of these teachers and pupils. Alicia de Larrocha used to say as well, I found the person at the academy, I found the person who later became not only my teacher, but my spiritual father. In the 1950s, with a more active international career, Larrocha did not stop writing to his teacher and about the praise she received on her first tour to the United States in 1954. She wrote to her teacher, "My dearest teacher, you well know that the only opinion in the world I'll really listen to is that of my revered teacher. I don't care what the rest of the world says." That's what Alicia de Larrocha always says about his teacher, Frank Marshall. It's well known that The Academy was trained outstanding pianists and teachers following the tradition of a Catalan piano school based on sonority, voicing, and detailed use of the pedals. Some of Granados' concepts to playing and teaching the piano, which have been obtained from the 2 lectures he gave on interpretation and technique expression, says, always in a melody, when 2 notes are separated by an interval of time greater than that corresponding to 2 beats at an andante tempo, we should play the second note with an intensity approximately equal to that remaining from the first note. He concedes that the composer's dynamic markings take precedence in all cases, and that in the arpeggios and scales there is always a natural tendency for intensity to increase on the way up and decrease on the way down. He believes that both principles dealing with suitable changes in the intensity of sound production and tempo are crucial to expression and artistry in interpretation. The interpretation of musical works is parallel to the life of the artist. If he has lived in the society and environment that were behind the composition of those works, if he knows the human emotions expression will flow intuitively without the artist perhaps even being aware of it. He establishes the rules that inform his approach to technique of correct expression, which is characterized by energy, gentleness, grace, and agility. Staccato is essential to acquiring energy, while legato and shading of sonority are the elements of gentleness and suavity. Grace and agility result from the combination of all of these. Granados elucidates the essential tendency of rhythm to create patterns of tension and relaxation. Concerning articulation, he said, can be of 3 types: staccato, tenuto, picado, legado, and legato. He concludes that governing all manner of articulation in the service of expression is the law of contrast. It's well known that Granados was a great improviser. Also, there is an anecdote in which Frank Marshall, his pupil, was turning pages for Granados as he performed a recent composition, was El Pelele, from 1913. It soon became clear to Marshall that Granados was not paying attention to the manuscript or playing what he had written there. Marshall later told Alicia de Larrocha that they, Granados, improvised a new Pelele that contained the themes and phrases of the authentic one. They unfold in a form completely distinct, but with authenticity and feeling of the original form, so that this version could well have stayed as the definitive one. The audience was enraptured with this Pelele and demanded a repetition. Granados obliged to be but this time he played it strictly according to the score. Afterwards, a friend congratulated him on the performance, saying, yes, of course, it was wonderful. But why did you not repeat the piece the public and I asked for? So he changed completely the way he used to improvise, no? Yeah, just say naturally. Both Granados and Marshall wrote pedagogical methods related to these aspects. We have Granados in 1909, Método teórico-práctico para el uso de los pedales, theoretical and practical method for the use of piano pedals. Marshall has two writings. Marshall 1919, Estudio práctico sobre los pedales del piano, practical study of the piano pedals, and in 1940, piano sonority. The pedagogical indications are quite similar between Granados and Marshall. We see this an example of their books of pedagogical of the pedal. You found here its indications of Marshall and Larrocha. The first one is Granados, and the second is Marshall. And actually, they are very similar, but Marshall went into more detail in his method. Both methods indicate exercise to practice of the use of pedals according to instructions. In the case of editions of these pieces, Granados was often under financial pressure and would rush a piece to the publisher before it had matured. Later, he might make significant changes to the published version, which he would then incorporate into his performances and convey to his pupils. That is the case of his seventh dance, subtitled by Granados himself, Valenciana. There are 4 editions of Granados Danzas Españolas. First edition of Pujol, 1892, 2 editions from Unión Musical Española, 1920 and 1934 respectively, and the critical edition Rebollo, 2001, revised by Alicia de Larrocha and Douglas Ribra. That includes 2 versions of this danza number 7, the published one and the transcribed one from the recordings of Granados and Larrocha's annotations inherited by oral tradition. The thematic material and the structure of the work remain the same. Most of the alterations pertain to articulation, voicing, and accidentals, and the revision of the coda is only a single bar longer than the original, as we see below. Here we want to find a lot of, I don't want to take more time on this, but these are the first edition, 1892, Larrocha editions of this piece, with all the indication. In this case is with blue ink, and as we can see here, the values, not values, no? There are changes in the value of the original notes, from quarter notes to 8 notes, and in staccato. As I just said, no, Granados about this energy, but in the rhythm and in staccato. So it's according to that point. In this case, we have also added octaves, and the bass chords and notes are included in the bass for harmonic and sonority purposes. Also, this is interesting because the first edition, this Ume 1920, was the score of her aunt. So the indications are from her aunt, Alicia de Larrocha aunt, who studied with Granados. So that, what I found interesting is they are the same indications. In this case, are in black ink, also the similar, no, to change the time values. And the other one with pencil, that's Alicia de Larrocha. Also, another thing is quite interesting is the metronomic mark is indicated on quaver 132 beeps per minute. Another indication we find here, for instance, con las dos manos, that means playing with both hands. So that kind of indication we find in all these editions. She had all the 4 editions in his archive. That's the archive Alicia de Larrocha, and really very thanks for all these fuentes, no, I have from this archive. Go to this section. The same changes we will find in all this edition, and one important is this one, the coda. That's the final section of the piece, in which, for instance, we can see that we change all the final bars. There are 10 bars, so instead of having 100, we have 101. And as you can see here, also the pedal markings are very likely like Marshall. You got to finish? Your time is okay, so sorry. just a minute, just to listen. Oh, sorry, it's finished my time, and I wanted you to listen the three, just a little of this. Thank you. That is Granados. ¿Dónde están las dos? No, yo puse dos. Sorry, yo. Wait, I prefer to do it here. Yes. No, start working, play the both. I don't know why. I didn't touch anything. Sorry, let me please help here. So the first one, we'll start again. Just a few minutes. This is Granados, a recording for 1912. Just a little bit of Marshall, that is a piano roll recording of 1925 for Belte. Sorry, it's a bit silent. And I thanks to just a little bit of the last one, Alicia de Larrocha, 1954. So, and the last thing, in the spectrograms, we can see this section that was revised by Alicia de Larrocha. Actually, we corroborate all the changes of this space. Okay. And the final reflection, no performance change from generation to generation, but if the principles of a particular piano school of teachers have been systematically taught and learned from the beginning, they will endure and remain recognizable. Okay? And I thought of Granados. Thank you very much.